Why do we so often seek approval from others when the peace we're searching for can only be found within ourselves? This question, as simple as it sounds, cuts to the heart of what it means to live a Stoic life. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most profound Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words remind us that true peace doesn't come from the applause of others or the fleeting highs of external validation. It comes from mastering our own thoughts, emotions, and responses to the world around us. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control what others think of us or the circumstances life throws our way, we can always control how we choose to engage with them. This is the foundation of inner peace, a state of calm and clarity that's entirely within our grasp, no matter what's happening outside. In this video, we're going to explore how Stoic principles like detachment, resilience, and presence can help us prioritize this inner peace over the endless chase for external validation. We'll uncover practical ways to shift our focus from what others think to what truly matters, our own growth, contentment, and sense of purpose. So, if you've ever felt weighed down by the need for approval or the pressure to meet others' expectations, this is your invitation to discover a different path, one that leads to lasting peace and fulfillment. Stoics teach us that the key to peace lies in understanding what we can and cannot control. This principle, often referred to as the Dichotomy of Control, is one of the cornerstones of Stoic philosophy. At its core, it's about recognizing the difference between the things that are within our power, like our thoughts, choices, and reactions, and the things that are not, such as other people's opinions, outcomes, or external circumstances. When we try to control what's beyond our reach, we set ourselves up for frustration and anxiety. But when we focus on what we can influence, we find a sense of calm and clarity. Take external validation, for example. Seeking approval or recognition from others is something many of us do, whether it's through social media likes, workplace accolades, or even the opinions of friends and family. But here's the thing, these forms of validation are entirely outside our control. We can't force someone to like our post, praise our work, or agree with our choices. What we can control, however, is how we respond to these external factors. Do we let them dictate our self-worth, or do we cultivate an inner sense of confidence and peace that doesn't rely on outside approval? Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "Some things are in our control and others are not. Make it your business to focus on what's within your power and let go of the rest." This simple yet profound idea invites us to shift our attention inward. Instead of chasing fleeting validation, we can focus on developing virtues like wisdom, courage, and self-discipline, qualities that are entirely within our control and that lead to lasting fulfillment. Consider how this applies to modern life. Imagine scrolling through social media and feeling a pang of envy or insecurity because someone else's life seems more exciting or successful than yours. The Stoic approach wouldn't be to try to compete or seek more validation through your own posts. Instead, it would encourage you to reflect on why you're comparing yourself in the first place and to redirect that energy towards something you can control, your own mindset and actions. Maybe that means logging off for a while, practicing gratitude for what you have, or setting meaningful goals that align with your values rather than external expectations. So here's a question to ponder. Can you identify one area of your life where you find yourself seeking external validation? Maybe it's at work, in your relationships, or even in how you present yourself online. Take a moment to think about how you might shift your focus inward. What would it look like to prioritize your own sense of worth over the approval of others? This isn't about rejecting feedback or living in isolation. It's about building a foundation of inner peace that isn't shaken by the unpredictable tides of external opinion. When we master this shift, we unlock a deeper, more enduring kind of freedom. How often have you achieved external approval only to feel empty afterward? That fleeting sense of accomplishment, that momentary high when someone praises your work or admires your success, how long does it truly last? For the Stoics, this is the heart of the problem with external validation. It's an illusion, a mirage that promises fulfillment but leaves us thirsting for more. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, put it bluntly: what is the point of having countless admirers if you cannot admire yourself? External validation is unreliable because it depends on factors outside our control, the opinions, moods, and judgments of others. One day you might be celebrated, the next criticized. The Stoics understood that pinning your self-worth on such shifting sands is a recipe for anxiety and dissatisfaction. Instead, they urged us to look inward, to find peace and fulfillment within ourselves where true stability lies. Take, for example, the story of Alexander the Great. He conquered vast territories, amassed unimaginable wealth, and was revered as a god by many. Yet, according to historical accounts, he was never truly satisfied. His endless pursuit of external validation through conquest, power, and adoration left him restless and unfulfilled. The Stoics would argue that his mistake was seeking happiness outside himself, in the applause of others, rather than cultivating inner peace. Can you think of a time when you achieved something that others praised, but it didn't bring you the lasting happiness you expected? Maybe it was a promotion at work, a social media post that went viral, or even a compliment that felt hollow once the moment passed. These experiences reveal a deeper truth. External validation can never fill the void within. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how tightly you grip, it slips away. The Stoics remind us that true fulfillment comes from aligning with our own values, not the fleeting opinions of others. When we focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and character, we build a foundation of inner peace that no external circumstance can shake. So, the next time you find yourself chasing approval or validation, ask yourself, is this truly making me happier, or am I just chasing an illusion? True peace begins when you stop seeking validation and start accepting yourself. This is one of the core teachings of Stoicism, a philosophy that encourages us to look inward for strength rather than outward for approval. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't determined by what others think of you, but by how you see yourself. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius remind us that self-worth comes from within, not from the fleeting opinions of others. He once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This idea is timeless, and it's especially relevant in a world where social media and constant comparison can make us feel like we're never enough. Think about it. How often do we bend ourselves out of shape trying to meet others' expectations? Whether it's at work, in relationships, or even in our hobbies, the pressure to be liked, admired, or accepted can be overwhelming. But Stoicism teaches us that this external validation is ultimately out of our control. What we can control, however, is how we view ourselves. Self-acceptance isn't about ignoring your flaws or pretending to be perfect. It's about acknowledging your imperfections and still choosing to value yourself, not because someone else says you should, but because you recognize your inherent worth. Let's take a modern example: imposter syndrome. Many of us have felt like we don't belong, that we're not good enough, or that we're somehow faking it. These feelings often stem from seeking external validation, waiting for someone else to tell us we're capable or deserving. But what if, instead of waiting for that approval, we chose to accept ourselves as we are, flaws and all? Stoicism encourages us to shift our focus from what others think to what we know to be true about ourselves. It's about building an unshakable foundation of self-respect, one that doesn't crumble under the weight of others' opinions. Here's a simple exercise to put this into practice. Take a moment to write down 3 things you appreciate about yourself, qualities that have nothing to do with what others think. Maybe it's your resilience, your kindness, or your ability to learn from mistakes. Whatever it is, let it remind you that your value isn't tied to external approval. This small act of self-reflection can be a powerful step toward embracing the Stoic principle of self-acceptance, and it's a practice that can help you find real, lasting peace. What if you could find peace regardless of the results? This is the heart of the Stoic practice of detachment from outcomes, a mindset that shifts the focus from what we can't control to what we can. For the Stoics, inner peace isn't tied to external success or failure. It's about recognizing that while we can control our actions, efforts, and intentions, the results are often beyond our influence. This doesn't mean giving up or being indifferent. It means freeing ourselves from the emotional roller coaster of outcomes we can't dictate. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it simply: some things are within our control and some things are not. He urged his students to focus entirely on their own actions and choices, letting go of the rest. This isn't an easy shift, but it's a powerful one. When we anchor ourselves in what we can control, our effort, our attitude, our response, we stop being hostages to circumstances. We stop allowing external validation or results to define our worth or peace of mind. Think about a professional athlete. Their goal isn't just to win, it's to perform at their absolute best. They train relentlessly, refine their skills, and give their all in every match. But even the greatest athletes lose sometimes. What sets them apart is their ability to detach from the outcome of a game and focus on the process. They know that winning isn't entirely up to them. They can't control the weather, the referee's decisions, or their opponent's skill. But they can control how they prepare, how they play, and how they respond, win or lose. That's Stoicism in action. Now, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Can you think of a recent situation where you were overly attached to a specific outcome? Maybe it was a job interview, a difficult conversation, or even a personal goal. How much of your energy went into worrying about the result? And how might it feel to shift your focus to what you can control, your preparation, your effort, your mindset? Detaching from outcomes doesn't mean you care less, it means you care differently. You focus on the journey, not just the destination, and in doing so, you find a deeper sense of peace. Resilience is the armor that protects our inner peace. For the Stoics, it's not about avoiding hardship or criticism. It's about building the strength to face them without losing your sense of calm. Think of resilience as a mental muscle, one that grows stronger the more you use it. When life throws obstacles your way, Stoics don't crumble. They stand firm, knowing that their peace comes from within, not from the approval or validation of others. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. This idea reminds us that challenges aren't just random setbacks, they're opportunities to grow. Every moment of criticism, every rejection, every unexpected turn of events is a chance to practice resilience. It's not about pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose how you respond. Take, for example, the life of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced wars, political turmoil, and personal loss. Despite the immense pressures of leadership, he maintained his inner peace by focusing on what he could control: his thoughts, his actions, and his attitude. He didn't waste energy on things beyond his influence, like the opinions of others or the unpredictability of life. Instead, he leaned on his resilience to navigate adversity with grace. So, how can you apply this in your own life? Think about a recent challenge you faced. Maybe it was a tough conversation, a setback at work, or a personal disappointment. Instead of letting it shake your confidence, consider how you can respond with resilience. What can you learn from the situation? How can you focus on what's within your control rather than fixating on what's not? By doing this, you're not just enduring the storm, you're growing stronger because of it. How often do you catch yourself worrying about what others think? It's a question that hits home for so many of us, and it's exactly why the Stoics placed such a strong emphasis on the practice of presence. Being fully in the moment, they believed, is one of the most powerful ways to free ourselves from the need for external validation. When we're truly present, we're not consumed by thoughts of how we're perceived or whether we're measuring up to someone else's standards. Instead, we're grounded in what's real: our own thoughts, actions, and the world around us. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." It's a striking reminder of how fleeting life is and how much energy we waste when we focus on things outside our control, like the opinions of others. By anchoring ourselves in the present, we reclaim that energy. We stop chasing approval and start living authentically, guided by our own values rather than the expectations of the crowd. So, how can we put this into practice? One of the simplest ways is through mindfulness. It doesn't have to be complicated, just take a few minutes each day to focus on your breath. Notice the rhythm of your inhales and exhales, the rise and fall of your chest. When your mind inevitably wanders to thoughts of what others might think, gently bring it back to the present. This isn't about clearing your mind completely. It's about training yourself to return to the here and now over and over again. Over time, this practice builds a kind of mental resilience, helping you detach from the noise of external opinions and stay centered in your own truth. Here's a challenge for you. Spend just 5 minutes today practicing presence. Sit quietly, close your eyes if it helps, and focus on your breath. When distractions creep in, whether it's a worry about what someone said or a fear of being judged, acknowledge them but don't hold on to them. Let them pass like clouds in the sky and return to the present moment. It's a small step, but it's one that can have a profound impact on how you navigate the world. After all, the more you practice being present, the less power external validation has over you. Indifference to others' opinions is the gateway to true freedom. The Stoics believed that external validation, whether praise or criticism, holds no real power over us unless we allow it to. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with judgment, both online and offline, this ancient wisdom feels more relevant than ever. Stoicism teaches us that the opinions of others are not facts. They're simply reflections of someone else's perspective, and they have no bearing on our true worth or inner peace. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, put it simply: if someone tells you that so and so speaks ill of you, don't defend yourself against what's said, but reply, "He doesn't know my other faults, or he would have mentioned those as well." This isn't about dismissing criticism entirely, it's about recognizing that it doesn't define you. When you stop seeking approval or fearing disapproval, you unlock a profound sense of freedom. Think about how this applies to modern life. Imagine scrolling through social media and encountering a harsh comment or a troll. It's easy to feel attacked, to let that negativity disrupt your day. But what if, instead of reacting, you chose indifference? What if you reminded yourself that their words say more about them than about you? This is the Stoic approach, recognizing that external opinions are beyond your control and refusing to let them dictate your emotional state. So how can you practice this kind of indifference in your own life? Start by noticing when you feel the need for validation. Maybe it's seeking likes on a post or worrying about what a coworker thinks of your presentation. Ask yourself, does their opinion change who I am? Does it alter my values or my ability to act with integrity? When you realize it doesn't, you can begin to detach from the noise and focus on what truly matters, your own inner peace. This kind of indifference isn't about apathy or coldness, it's about reclaiming your power. It's about choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And when you do, you'll find that freedom isn't something you have to chase, it's something you already possess, just waiting to be uncovered. Are you living authentically, or are you simply chasing the approval of others? This is a question the Stoics would urge us to ask ourselves often. For them, authenticity wasn't just a buzzword, it was a cornerstone of a meaningful life. They believed that true peace and fulfillment come not from conforming to societal expectations, but from aligning our actions with our deepest values. As Seneca once said, "What's the point of having a voice if you're only going to parrot what others say?" In other words, living authentically means having the courage to be yourself, even when it's not popular. The Stoics understood that seeking external validation is a never-ending race. No matter how much praise or recognition you earn, it will never be enough to fill the void if you're not being true to who you are. Instead, they encouraged us to focus on what we can control: our own choices, values, and actions. This doesn't mean ignoring the opinions of others entirely, but it does mean not letting those opinions dictate your path. Take Socrates, for example. He faced immense pressure to conform to the norms of Athenian society, but he chose to stay true to his philosophical mission, even when it cost him his life. His authenticity wasn't just a personal virtue, it became a legacy that inspired generations. Or consider Marcus Aurelius, who, as emperor, could have easily sought popularity and power. Instead, he chose to lead with humility and integrity, guided by his Stoic principles. So, how can we apply this wisdom in our own lives? Start by reflecting on your values. What truly matters to you? What kind of person do you want to be? Then, think about one small step you can take today to live more authentically. Maybe it's speaking up for what you believe in, even if it's unpopular. Or perhaps it's letting go of a habit or relationship that doesn't align with your true self. The key is to act with intention, not out of fear or the desire for approval. Living authentically isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. When we stop trying to fit into someone else's mold, we create space for genuine peace and self-respect. And isn't that what we're all truly seeking? Comparison is the thief of joy and peace. This simple truth, often attributed to Theodore Roosevelt, resonates deeply with Stoic philosophy. The Stoics understood that measuring ourselves against others is a surefire way to disrupt our inner calm. Why? Because comparison shifts our focus from what we can control, our own actions and mindset, to what we cannot, the lives, achievements, and opinions of others. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In other words, the moment we start looking outward for validation or measuring our worth against someone else's highlight reel, we surrender our peace to forces beyond our control. Think about how often we fall into this trap in modern life, especially with social media. Scrolling through curated feeds, it's easy to feel like everyone else is living a more exciting, successful, or fulfilling life. But here's the thing, what we see online is rarely the full picture. People share their best moments, not their struggles. Comparing your everyday reality to someone else's highlight reel is like comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to their blockbuster trailer. It's not a fair comparison, and it only leads to frustration, envy, and a sense of inadequacy. The Stoics would urge us to turn inward instead. They believed that true peace comes from focusing on our own journey, our own values, and our own progress. When you stop comparing yourself to others, you free yourself from the endless cycle of seeking external validation. You start to appreciate what you have rather than fixating on what you lack. This doesn't mean ignoring others or becoming indifferent to their successes. It simply means recognizing that their path is theirs and yours is yours. Take a moment to reflect. How has comparison affected your peace? Have you ever felt drained or discontent after measuring yourself against someone else's standards? What would it look like to let go of that habit and focus instead on your own growth? The next time you catch yourself in the comparison trap, pause. Remind yourself of Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Your power lies in your mind, not in the external world. Choose to direct your energy toward what truly matters, your own inner peace and progress. What if you already have everything you need for peace? The Stoics believed that true contentment comes not from chasing external validation, but from recognizing the abundance already present in your life. This is where the practice of gratitude becomes a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. By focusing on what you have rather than what you lack, you shift your perspective from scarcity to sufficiency, from longing to appreciation. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Gratitude anchors you in the present moment, allowing you to see the value in what's right in front of you. It's not about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging the good, even amidst difficulties. This mindset helps you detach from the endless pursuit of external approval, because you begin to realize that your worth isn't tied to others' opinions or achievements. How can you incorporate this into your life? A simple yet powerful practice is keeping a daily gratitude journal. Each day, take a moment to write down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be as small as a warm cup of coffee in the morning, or as significant as the support of a loved one. Over time, this habit trains your mind to notice and appreciate the abundance around you, rather than fixating on what's missing. So take a moment right now. What are 3 things you're grateful for today? By reflecting on this, you're not just acknowledging the good in your life, you're actively cultivating a Stoic mindset that prioritizes inner peace over the fleeting satisfaction of external validation. Humility is the antidote to the need for approval. For the Stoics, cultivating humility wasn't about diminishing oneself or seeking to be unnoticed. It was about recognizing the limits of our control and focusing on what truly matters, our character and inner peace. When we stop seeking validation from others, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of comparison and external judgment. Humility, in this sense, becomes a powerful tool for grounding us in our values and keeping our priorities clear. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it simply, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters." What he's saying here is profound. It's not about rejecting knowledge or competence. It's about letting go of the need to prove ourselves at every turn. When we stop trying to impress others, we can focus on what's within our control, our thoughts, actions, and responses. Humility allows us to step back from the noise of external opinions and find clarity in our own principles. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. As one of the most powerful men in the world, he could have easily succumbed to the temptation of flattery and praise. Yet he constantly reminded himself of his own impermanence and the fleeting nature of external rewards. In his writings, he often reflected on the importance of humility, noting that even the most celebrated figures are soon forgotten. By embracing humility, he stayed grounded in his role as a servant to his people, rather than being consumed by the trappings of power. So, how can we practice humility in our own lives? Start by noticing when you're seeking approval or validation. Are you speaking to impress, or are you speaking to contribute? Are you making decisions based on what others might think, or are you staying true to your values? Humility isn't about rejecting recognition or success. It's about ensuring that these things don't define your self-worth. It's about recognizing that external validation is fleeting, but the strength of your character is enduring. Think about your interactions today. Are there moments where you can let go of the need to be right or admired? how might humility help you focus on what truly matters? These small shifts in perspective can have a profound impact, helping you build a life centered on inner peace rather than external approval. What if silence could bring you more peace than approval? It's a question that might seem counterintuitive in a world where so many of us feel compelled to share our thoughts, defend our opinions, and seek validation from others. But for the Stoics, silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's a deliberate practice, a way to reclaim inner peace and resist the pull of external validation. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." At its core, this idea reminds us that not every thought needs to be spoken, not every opinion needs to be shared, and not every situation requires our input. Silence, in the Stoic sense, is a form of strength. It's the ability to step back, observe, and resist the urge to engage in unnecessary conflict or chase fleeting approval. Think about how often we feel pressured to respond immediately, whether it's in a heated argument, a social media debate, or even a casual conversation. The Stoics would argue that much of this pressure comes from our desire to be seen, heard, or validated by others. But what if, instead of reacting, we chose silence? What if we allowed ourselves the space to reflect before speaking, or even to say nothing at all? A modern example of this might be scrolling through social media. How often do we feel the urge to comment on a post, correct someone's opinion, or defend our own viewpoint? The Stoic approach would be to pause and ask, is this worth my energy? Is this adding value, or am I just seeking validation? By choosing silence in these moments, we not only protect our peace but also avoid getting caught up in the endless cycle of external approval. So here's a challenge for you. Spend a day practicing silence in unnecessary conversations. Notice the moments when you feel compelled to speak just to be heard or to prove a point. Instead, take a breath, step back, and embrace the quiet. You might find that silence doesn't just bring you peace, it gives you the clarity to focus on what truly matters. Self-reflection is the mirror that reveals our true selves. For the Stoics, it's a cornerstone practice that allows us to step back from the noise of the external world and focus on what truly matters, our inner peace. By turning inward, we gain clarity about our motivations, values, and the choices we make. It's not about judging ourselves harshly, but about understanding where we stand and how we can grow. As Seneca once said, each day acquire something that will fortify you against poverty, against death, indeed against other misfortunes as well. This daily practice of reflection isn't just about identifying mistakes. It's about cultivating resilience and aligning our actions with our deepest principles. So how do Stoics practice self-reflection? It begins with carving out a quiet moment, often at the end of the day, to review what happened. They ask themselves questions like, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What can I learn from this experience? This isn't about dwelling on regrets, but about learning from them and planning how to act better tomorrow. Imagine ending your day by writing down 3 things you're grateful for, 1 challenge you faced, and 1 way you could improve. Over time, this simple routine builds self-awareness and helps you prioritize what truly contributes to your inner peace. Here's a practical way to start. Before you go to bed, take 5 minutes to sit quietly and reflect on your day. Think about the moments when you felt calm and in control, and contrast them with times when external pressures or emotions got the better of you. What can these moments teach you about your values and how you respond to challenges? This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. By reflecting daily, you begin to see patterns in your behavior, both positive and negative, and you gain the power to make intentional changes. Now consider this. What's one area of your life where you feel out of alignment with your values? Could it be a habit you've been neglecting, a relationship that needs more attention, or a goal you've been putting off? Take a moment to reflect on that. The beauty of self-reflection is that it doesn't require grand gestures or dramatic changes. It's about small, consistent steps that add up over time, guiding you toward a life of greater harmony and purpose. By making reflection a daily habit, you're not just observing your life, you're actively shaping it. What if simplicity could bring you more peace than complexity? For Stoics, the answer lies in stripping away the unnecessary, not just in our surroundings, but in our thoughts and actions. External validation often pulls us into a web of complexity, where we chase approval, status, and material possessions. But the Stoics teach us that these pursuits only dilute our inner peace. By embracing simplicity, we create space to focus on what truly matters: our character, our values, and our ability to live in alignment with nature. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This idea is at the heart of Stoic simplicity. It's not about depriving yourself, but about recognizing that less can truly be more. When we simplify our lives, we reduce the noise of external expectations and distractions. We stop measuring our worth by what others think or what we own, and instead we turn inward to find contentment in who we are. Think about it. How much of your mental energy is spent trying to keep up with societal pressures or the pursuit of things you don't actually need? Decluttering is a modern, practical way to apply Stoic simplicity. It's not just about organizing your physical space, it's about creating mental clarity. When you remove the excess, you're left with only what serves you, and that's where true freedom begins. So here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to reflect on your life right now. What's one area where you can simplify? It could be your schedule, your possessions, or even the way you approach relationships. The goal isn't perfection, but progress. By taking small steps toward a simpler life, you'll find that peace isn't something you chase, it's something you create. Courage is the shield that protects our inner peace. For the Stoics, this virtue wasn't just about bold actions or grand gestures, it was about standing firm in your values, even when the world around you tries to pull you in a different direction. Think about it. How often do we compromise what we believe in just to fit in, avoid conflict, or gain approval? The Stoics saw courage as the antidote to this struggle, the force that allows us to resist societal pressures and stay true to ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most influential Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that courage isn't just about facing external challenges, it's about aligning our actions with our principles, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about choosing integrity over convenience, even when no one is watching. History gives us countless examples of Stoics who embodied this kind of courage. Take Cato the Younger, for instance. He was a Roman senator who stood against Julius Caesar's rise to power, not out of personal ambition, but because he believed in the Republic's ideals. Even when defeat was inevitable, he refused to compromise his values, choosing to take his own life rather than live under tyranny. His story is a powerful reminder that courage isn't about winning, it's about staying true to what you believe, no matter the cost. But you don't have to be a historical figure to practice courage. It shows up in the small, everyday decisions we make. Maybe it's speaking up when you see something unjust, even if it means standing alone. Or perhaps it's saying no to something that doesn't align with your values, even if it means disappointing others. Courage is about recognizing that your inner peace is worth protecting, even if it requires discomfort or sacrifice. So here's a question to reflect on. Where in your life could you use a little more courage? Is there a situation where you've been holding back, afraid of judgment or failure? Take a moment to think about one small step you can take to stand firm in your values. Because as the Stoics teach us, true courage isn't about being fearless. It's about acting in spite of fear, knowing that your inner peace is worth it. What if letting go could bring you more peace than holding on? This is a question the Stoics asked themselves centuries ago, and their answer might surprise you. For them, the pursuit of inner peace wasn't about achieving more or winning approval. It was about releasing the need for external validation altogether. Imagine carrying a heavy weight everywhere you go, only to realize you could set it down at any moment. That's what Stoicism teaches us about the opinions of others. They're weights we choose to carry, not ones we're forced to hold. Seneca once wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." While this might seem unrelated at first, it's actually a profound insight into the practice of letting go. Anger, frustration, and even anxiety often stem from our attachment to how others see us. We want to be liked, respected, or admired, and when that doesn't happen, we feel the sting of rejection. But Seneca reminds us that by pausing, by delaying our reaction, we create space to detach from those emotions. In that space, we find freedom. Consider the modern example of social media. How often do we post something only to anxiously check how many likes or comments it gets? We've tied our self-worth to the approval of strangers, scrolling endlessly for validation that never truly satisfies. But what if instead we stepped back? What if we let go of the need for those external markers of success and focused instead on how we feel about ourselves? The Stoics would argue that this is where true peace begins, not in the opinions of others, but in the quiet confidence of knowing who you are. So, what do you need to let go of? Is it the need for others to approve of your choices, the pressure to meet societal expectations, or maybe it's the habit of comparing yourself to others, always feeling like you don't measure up? Whatever it is, the Stoics would tell you this: the moment you release that weight, you create room for something far more valuable, inner peace. And that's something no amount of external validation can ever give you. Integrity is the compass that guides us to inner peace. For the Stoics, living with integrity isn't just about doing the right thing when others are watching. It's about aligning your actions with your deepest values, even when no one is there to see. It's a commitment to yourself, to your principles, and to the kind of person you choose to be. And in a world that often rewards external validation, this commitment becomes a powerful tool for cultivating inner calm and resilience. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that integrity begins with clarity. You have to know what you stand for before you can act in alignment with it. For the Stoics, this means living in accordance with nature, accepting what you cannot control and focusing your energy on what you can, your choices, your character, and your integrity. Take, for example, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled during one of the most turbulent periods in history. Despite his immense power, he consistently chose to act with integrity, guided by his Stoic principles. He could have easily sought approval or validation from others, but instead he focused on doing what he believed was right, even when it was unpopular or difficult. His integrity wasn't just a personal virtue, it became a source of strength that allowed him to lead with wisdom and compassion. Living with integrity doesn't mean you'll always be liked or understood. In fact, it often means standing firm in your values, even when it's uncomfortable. But here's the thing: when you prioritize integrity over external validation, you free yourself from the burden of other people's opinions. You stop chasing approval and start building a life rooted in meaning and purpose, and that's where true inner peace begins. So, here's a question to reflect on. Where in your life can you choose integrity over the desire for approval? What would it look like to act in alignment with your values, even if it meant facing criticism or standing alone? These aren't easy questions, but they're worth asking, because when you live with integrity, you're not just staying true to yourself, you're creating a foundation of inner strength that no external force can shake. What if patience could bring you more peace than urgency? For the Stoics, patience wasn't just a virtue, it was a powerful tool for reclaiming control over their inner world. Instead of chasing external validation or quick fixes, they embraced the slow, steady process of growth. This mindset allowed them to focus on what truly mattered, their own character and long-term well-being rather than the fleeting approval of others. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This idea is at the heart of Stoic patience. It's about understanding that while we can't control how quickly success or recognition comes, we can control how we respond to the wait. Patience becomes a way to detach from the need for immediate results and instead invest in the journey itself. Think about a modern example: building a career. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to feel pressured to achieve success overnight. But Stoicism reminds us that true mastery takes time. Instead of fixating on promotions or social media likes, what if you focused on improving your skills, staying consistent, and trusting the process? That's patience in action, choosing long-term fulfillment over the temporary rush of external validation. So, where in your life could you practice a little more patience? Maybe it's in your relationships, your creative projects, or even your personal goals. Take a moment to reflect on one area where slowing down and embracing the process might bring you closer to inner peace. After all, as the Stoics teach us, the things worth having are often worth waiting for. Discipline is the bridge between chaos and peace. For Stoics, it's not just about rigid rules or self-denial. It's about creating a structure that allows you to focus on what truly matters. Without discipline, our minds can easily become scattered, pulled in countless directions by external distractions and the noise of the world. But with it, we can carve out a space of clarity where inner peace becomes not just a fleeting moment but a steady state of being. The Stoics believed that discipline is the key to aligning your actions with your values. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity." For he is not permitted to prove himself. What he's pointing to here is the idea that discipline isn't just about avoiding temptation. It's about actively choosing to strengthen your character through consistent effort. It's about proving to yourself day after day that you can rise above the noise and stay true to what you hold dear. Imagine this: you wake up each morning with a clear intention to focus on what's within your control. You don't let the whirlwind of emails, social media, or other people's opinions dictate your day. Instead, you carve out time for reflection, maybe through journaling or meditation, and you approach your tasks with purpose. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about showing up even when it's hard and making choices that align with your deeper goals. One practical way to apply this is by creating a daily routine that reflects Stoic principles. Start small, perhaps dedicate 10 minutes each morning to reflecting on what you're grateful for, or set aside time to read a passage from a Stoic text. Over time, these small acts of discipline build into habits that ground you, helping you stay centered even when life feels chaotic. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one habit you could develop through discipline that would bring you closer to inner peace? It doesn't have to be grand or life-altering. Sometimes the simplest routines can have the most profound impact. The key is to start and to keep showing up one step at a time. What if compassion could bring you more peace than approval? At first glance, it might seem counterintuitive. After all, we're often taught that recognition and praise are the ultimate rewards. But Stoicism offers a different path. For the Stoics, compassion isn't just a virtue. It's a way to connect deeply with others while freeing yourself from the need for their validation. It's about understanding that true peace comes from within, not from external applause. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about things. This insight is especially powerful when applied to compassion. When we approach others with empathy, we're not seeking their approval or trying to shape their opinions of us. Instead, we're focusing on our own ability to act with kindness and understanding, regardless of how others respond. It's a shift in perspective, from needing to be seen as good to simply being good. Take volunteering, for example. Imagine spending a weekend at a local shelter, not because you want others to praise your generosity, but because you genuinely want to help. The act itself becomes its own reward. You're not waiting for someone to say, "You're such a good person." Instead, you're finding fulfillment in the act of giving, in the connection you create with those you're helping. This is Stoic compassion in action, rooted in inner peace rather than external validation. So, how can you bring this into your own life? Think about the small, everyday moments where compassion might make a difference. Maybe it's listening to a friend without interrupting, even when you're busy, or offering help to a colleague without expecting anything in return. These actions aren't about proving your worth to others. They're about aligning with your values and finding peace in the process. Compassion, in the Stoic sense, isn't just a way to help others, it's a way to help yourself. By focusing on empathy and kindness, you're building a life that's less dependent on what others think and more anchored in what truly matters, your own sense of integrity and peace. And isn't that a far more lasting kind of fulfillment? Wisdom is the light that guides us to true peace. For the Stoics, wisdom wasn't just about knowing facts or having clever insights. It was about seeing the world clearly, understanding what truly matters, and aligning your actions with that understanding. It's through wisdom that Stoics are able to let go of the endless chase for external validation and instead focus on cultivating inner peace. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, put it this way: "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, what we choose to focus on shapes who we become. When we focus on external approval, we risk losing ourselves in the opinions of others. But when we focus on wisdom, we learn to see beyond the noise and anchor ourselves in what's real and lasting. Historically, Stoics like Epictetus and Seneca demonstrated this principle in action. Epictetus, born into slavery, used his wisdom to rise above his circumstances, teaching that our power lies not in controlling what happens to us but in how we respond. Seneca, a statesman and philosopher, showed how wisdom could help navigate the temptations of power and wealth, reminding us that true freedom comes from mastering our desires rather than being ruled by them. These figures didn't just talk about wisdom, they lived it, showing us that it's possible to find serenity even in the midst of chaos. So how can we cultivate this kind of wisdom in our own lives? It starts with questioning what we value. Are we chasing things because they truly matter or because we think they'll earn us approval? Take a moment to reflect on the choices you make daily. Are they guided by a desire for recognition or by a deeper understanding of what brings lasting fulfillment? Wisdom isn't something you're born with, it's something you grow, one thoughtful decision at a time. And as you do, you'll find that inner peace becomes less of a goal and more of a natural result. What if acceptance could bring you more peace than resistance? This is a question at the heart of Stoic philosophy, and it's one that challenges us to rethink how we engage with the world around us. For Stoics, acceptance isn't about giving up or resigning yourself to fate, it's about embracing reality as it is, without the constant need to seek approval or validation from others. It's a practice that allows you to find peace in the present moment, no matter the circumstances. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This powerful insight reminds us that much of our struggle comes from resisting what we cannot change rather than accepting it. When we fight against reality, whether it's a personal failure, a missed opportunity, or an unexpected challenge, we create unnecessary suffering. But when we practice acceptance, we free ourselves from that struggle. We stop wasting energy on what we can't control and instead focus on how we can respond with clarity and purpose. Take failure, for example. In today's world, failure is often seen as something to avoid at all costs. But what if we reframed it as an inevitable part of growth? A Stoic approach would encourage us to accept failure not as a reflection of our worth, but as a teacher. By accepting it, we can learn from it, adapt, and move forward without being weighed down by shame or regret. This shift in perspective doesn't just reduce stress, it opens the door to resilience and inner peace. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing in your life right now that you're struggling to accept? Maybe it's a situation at work, a relationship, or even a personal limitation. By identifying it and consciously choosing to accept it, you take the first step toward releasing the tension it creates. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving for improvement, it means you stop fighting against what already is. And in that space, you'll find the peace you've been searching for. Perspective is the lens that reveals true peace. For the Stoics, it's not just a way of seeing the world, it's a tool for freeing yourself from the noise of external validation. When you step back and look at life through a broader lens, the opinions of others lose their grip. They become distant, almost insignificant, compared to the clarity and calm that comes from focusing on what truly matters. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it simply, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This idea is at the heart of perspective. It's about understanding that while you can't control what others think of you, you can control how you interpret and respond to it. By shifting your focus inward, you reclaim your power. You stop chasing approval and start valuing your own sense of purpose and peace. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you receive criticism at work. Maybe a project didn't go as planned, and your manager points out where you could improve. At first, it might sting, but instead of letting that criticism define your worth, you can reframe it. Ask yourself, is this feedback helping me grow? Is it revealing something I can actually improve, or is it just noise? By viewing the situation through this lens, you transform what could feel like an attack into an opportunity for growth. That's the power of perspective. Now, think about a challenge you're facing right now. How might shifting your perspective change the way you experience it? What if, instead of seeing it as a setback, you viewed it as a chance to strengthen your resilience or deepen your understanding? The Stoics remind us that perspective isn't just about seeing, it's about choosing how you see. And when you choose wisely, you find a path to inner peace that no amount of external validation can ever provide. What if forgiveness could bring you more peace than resentment? At first glance, forgiveness might seem like an act of weakness or letting someone off the hook, but for Stoics, it's something far more profound. Forgiveness is a tool for reclaiming your inner peace and freeing yourself from the weight of anger or bitterness. When we hold onto grudges, we're often waiting for the other person to apologize, to acknowledge our pain, or to change their behavior. But here's the thing: Stoics understand that waiting for others to validate our feelings or actions is a losing game. It ties our emotional well-being to something outside our control. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This isn't about ignoring harm or pretending it didn't happen. It's about refusing to let someone else's actions dictate your emotional state. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is about releasing the hold that resentment has on you. It's choosing to focus on your own growth, your own peace, rather than seeking external validation or justice from others. Think about it this way. Imagine a colleague who constantly undermines you at work. You could spend hours stewing over their behavior, replaying conversations in your head, or even plotting how to get back at them. But what does that achieve? It keeps you trapped in a cycle of negativity, draining your energy and focus. Instead, Stoicism invites you to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve the freedom that comes with letting go. So here's a challenge for you. Can you identify one person in your life who you need to forgive? It doesn't mean you have to confront them or even tell them. This is about you. It's about releasing that emotional burden and choosing peace over resentment. What would it feel like to no longer carry that weight? Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you stepping into a calmer, more centered version of yourself. Balance is the key to lasting peace, and for the Stoics, it was a cornerstone of their philosophy. They believed that living a life of inner tranquility meant avoiding extremes, neither clinging too tightly to pleasure nor being crushed by pain. Instead, they sought a steady, centered way of being, one that allowed them to remain unshaken by the chaos of the external world. Seneca, the great Stoic thinker, put it this way: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that true wealth lies not in accumulation, but in finding equilibrium. Think about it. How often do we swing between highs and lows, chasing after things that promise happiness but leave us feeling empty? The Stoics understood that this kind of imbalance only leads to discontent. Instead, they taught the importance of temperance, knowing when to push forward and when to step back, when to engage and when to let go. It's about recognizing that life is a series of ebbs and flows, and our peace comes from navigating them with grace, not resistance. A modern example of this might be the struggle to balance work and personal life. Many of us feel the pressure to excel in our careers while also nurturing relationships, pursuing hobbies, and taking care of ourselves. The Stoic approach would be to assess what truly matters, what aligns with our values, and let go of the rest. It's not about doing everything, it's about doing what's meaningful with intention and focus. By creating boundaries and prioritizing what's essential, we can avoid the burnout and stress that come from trying to have it all. So, where can you introduce more balance into your own life? Maybe it's setting aside time each day to disconnect from work and reconnect with yourself or others. Perhaps it's learning to say no to commitments that drain your energy without adding value. Balance isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making small, deliberate choices that help you stay grounded, even when life feels overwhelming. As you reflect on this, consider what areas of your life feel out of sync, and what one step you can take today to bring them back into harmony. What if mindfulness could bring you more peace than distraction? For Stoics, this isn't just a hypothetical question, it's a way of life. Mindfulness, the practice of staying fully present in the moment, is one of the most powerful tools Stoics use to detach from the noise of external validation and focus on what truly matters, their own inner peace. When you're mindful, you're not caught up in what others think of you, how you compare to others, or whether you're meeting someone else's expectations. Instead, you're grounded in the here and now, free from the endless chase for approval. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it simply: we should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control? Mindfulness is about recognizing what's within your control, your thoughts, your actions, your reactions, and letting go of what isn't, like the opinions of others. It's a practice that helps you step back from the chaos of external demands and reconnect with your own values and priorities. By staying present, you stop giving power to things that don't serve your growth or peace of mind. Imagine this: you're scrolling through social media and you see someone posting about their latest achievement. Without mindfulness, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, wondering why you haven't reached the same level of success. But with mindfulness, you pause, you notice the thought, acknowledge it, and let it go. you remind yourself that their journey isn't yours and your worth isn't tied to their accomplishments. This kind of presence is liberating. It allows you to focus on your own path without getting tangled in the web of external validation. So how can you start incorporating mindfulness into your daily life? It doesn't have to be complicated. Begin with just 5 minutes a day. Find a quiet space, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. Notice the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. If your mind wanders, and it will gently bring it back to your breath without judgment. Over time, this simple practice can help you build the mental clarity and resilience that Stoics value so deeply. Here's a challenge for you. Take 5 minutes today to practice mindfulness. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let yourself be fully present. Notice how it feels to let go of distractions and just be. How does it change your perspective? How does it shift your focus from what others think to what you truly value? Mindfulness isn't just a tool, it's a way of reclaiming your inner peace one moment at a time. Purpose is the anchor that keeps us grounded in peace. For the Stoics, purpose wasn't just a lofty idea, it was a practical tool, a compass that guided their actions and decisions. When you know your purpose, the noise of external validation fades into the background. Instead of seeking approval or chasing fleeting rewards, you focus on what truly matters to you. This clarity allows you to navigate life with a sense of calm, even when the world around you feels chaotic. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This isn't just a call to self-mastery. It's a reminder that purpose gives us the strength to rise above external distractions. When you're aligned with your purpose, you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to others. Your worth isn't tied to their opinions or judgments. Instead, it's rooted in something deeper, something unshakable. Take the example of Epictetus, who was born into slavery but found freedom through Stoic philosophy. His purpose wasn't to escape his circumstances, but to live with virtue and integrity, no matter what life threw at him. Even in chains, he was free because he knew his purpose. Or consider Seneca, who used his purpose as a statesman to serve others, even when it meant facing the whims of a volatile emperor. These historical figures show us that purpose isn't about external achievement. It's about how we choose to live, even in the face of adversity. So, what's your purpose? What anchors you when the storms of life threaten to pull you off course? Take a moment to reflect on what truly matters to you. Is it your relationships, your values, or perhaps a cause greater than yourself? When you connect with your purpose, you'll find that the need for external validation diminishes. You'll no longer feel the need to chase after every compliment or worry about every critique. Instead, you'll walk through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that your peace comes from within. What if detachment could bring you more peace than attachment? It's a question that might sound counterintuitive at first. After all, we're often told that connection, achievement, and external success are the keys to happiness. But Stoics take a different approach. They believe that true peace comes not from clinging to external things, whether it's praise, possessions, or approval, but from letting go of them. Detachment in Stoic philosophy isn't about indifference or apathy. It's about freeing yourself from dependence on things you can't control, so you can focus on what truly matters, your inner world. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This idea cuts to the heart of detachment. When we crave external validation, whether it's likes on social media, a promotion at work, or even the admiration of friends, we're giving away our power. We're tying our sense of worth to something outside ourselves, something we can't fully control. Detachment, on the other hand, is about reclaiming that power. It's about finding contentment within, so that no matter what happens externally, your peace remains unshaken. think about material possessions for a moment. Imagine you've worked hard to buy a luxury car, something you've dreamed of for years. At first, it feels amazing, but over time, that initial excitement fades. Maybe you start worrying about scratches, or you feel pressure to keep up with the latest models. The car, which was supposed to bring you joy, now brings stress. This is where Stoic detachment comes in. It's not about rejecting the car or pretending it doesn't matter. It's about recognizing that your happiness doesn't depend on it. You can enjoy it while it's there, but you're not devastated if it's gone. That's the freedom detachment offers. So what do you need to detach from to find your own peace? Is it the need for approval from others, the pressure to always be productive, or maybe it's the constant comparison to people on social media? Whatever it is, take a moment to reflect. What would it feel like to let go of that need, even just a little? To focus less on what others think and more on what truly aligns with your values. Detachment isn't about losing something, it's about gaining the freedom to live on your own terms, and that, in the end, is where inner peace begins. Community is the foundation of shared peace. While Stoicism emphasizes the importance of inner strength and self-reliance, it doesn't advocate for isolation. In fact, Stoics understood that meaningful connections with others could provide support and perspective, helping us grow without falling into the trap of seeking external validation. It's about surrounding yourself with people who encourage you to live in alignment with your values, not those who merely applaud your achievements or status. Epictetus once said, "We must be careful not to identify with the crowd, but to seek out those who help us live in accordance with nature." This isn't a call to reject community, but rather to choose it wisely. The right kind of community reminds us of what truly matters: virtue, wisdom, and tranquility, rather than distracting us with the noise of societal expectations or the pursuit of approval. It's not about how many people know your name, but how deeply you connect with those who share your commitment to living a purposeful life. Imagine being part of a Stoic study group where the focus isn't on impressing others but on mutual growth. These gatherings aren't about showcasing what you know or winning debates. They're spaces to reflect, learn, and hold each other accountable. In such an environment, you're not seeking validation. You're finding strength in shared understanding and collective progress. It's a reminder that you're not alone in your journey, and that's a powerful source of resilience. So take a moment to reflect. Who in your life helps you stay grounded in your values? Who challenges you to grow without demanding that you conform to their expectations? Building a supportive community isn't about quantity, it's about quality. It's about finding those who walk alongside you, not to applaud your every step, but to remind you why you're walking in the first place. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a profound truth. Inner peace is not something we find in the outside world, but something we cultivate within ourselves. Throughout this video, we've explored how Stoicism teaches us to detach from the fleeting opinions of others, build resilience in the face of life's challenges, and remain fully present in each moment. These principles aren't just abstract ideas, they're tools for living a life anchored in clarity and purpose, rather than chasing the ever-shifting winds of external validation. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest voices, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." These words remind us that true self-mastery begins with understanding what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. It's about turning inward, finding stability in our own values, and refusing to let the noise of the world dictate our sense of worth. So, how can you start applying these principles in your own life? Begin by asking yourself, where am I seeking validation from others, and how can I shift that focus to my own growth and peace? What habits or mindsets might I need to let go of to live more authentically? These questions aren't meant to overwhelm you, but to guide you towards small, intentional steps that align with Stoic wisdom. If this message resonates with you, consider subscribing to this channel for more insights into Stoicism and how it can transform your daily life. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. What's one way you found inner peace in a world that often prioritizes external approval? Let's continue this conversation and inspire each other to live with greater clarity, resilience, and presence. Thank you for watching, and remember, the journey to inner peace begins with a single mindful step.